Hello and welcome to MCC TV International Show. My name is John Dabeet. I'm the Business Department Coordinator. I teach economics and statistics and also host this show. As I always say, every show is a special show because our guests are always special. They are special because they bring a unique story that they will share with all of you, our audience. And today's show is no different. We have a very unique people, very special people that will be sharing also their story with all of us. So allow me to welcome two special people to our show today. Sharon and Mark, good to see you today.
Hey,
How
John.
are you? I'm glad to have you on our show today, and I would like to ask each one of you, first of all, to introduce yourself, and we'll take it from there.
Sure.
Okay, so I'm Sharon Adasme. I'm the editor-in-chief of the Calumet, which is a student-run newspaper at MCC, and this is my third semester with the paper.
Well, that's glad to hear that, and great work. Let's put it this way.
Thank you.
Mark?
John, I'm Mark Rifolfi. I'm a full-time journalist with North Scott Press in Eldridge and an adjunct instructor here at MCC with the Calumet, and this is my third semester of doing this.
Okay, for our audience, when we talk about the Calumet, it's MCC student newspaper, right? Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, before we start talking about the Calumet, which is basically the topic for today, let's go back and talk a little bit about your background. I mean, Mark, you are an editor. You have been in this business for many years. And if I remember right, you used to work also with the Quad City before that too. So if you give our audience, please, some idea about your history working with the newspaper industry, that would be great too.
Yeah. Well, I'm a career journalist. I began my career at the Dispatch in Moline and then worked for a time at the Indianapolis News, the town I grew up in, and then returned to the Quad Cities to work for the Quad City Times, where I was there for a good number of years before joining the North Scott Press.
And we are very happy to have you with us here. I mean, because having someone with your experience as an advisor for our students makes a huge difference. So we are very happy to have you with us here at MCC.
I have a passion for journalism education.
I can tell.
And have taught at Ambrose and Western and Knox colleges, and was really happy that this opportunity was here at MCC.
Thank you. Well, happy to have you too. How about you, Sharon? Tell us something about you, your involvement in the school newspaper. How did you just like get up one morning and say, hey, you know what? I want to be part of the newspaper. So is that?
So my goal was to take an English or a writing class every semester I was at school. So I started with Comp 1. I took creative writing, and then during my creative writing class, Mark actually came in and he said, hey, there's this student newspaper, it's called the Calumet, it's run by the students, it gives you a voice, you guys write the stories, you publish it, you put it out there for the rest of the school. And I wanted to be a journalism major, so I thought, well, you know what, next semester I should probably join. And so I joined, and then I kept on, and then I just kept moving up the ranks. So I started, and then I was assistant editor, and then this semester I was editor-in-chief. So I just kind of worked my way up.
Well, I'm not going to say that because you are here and Mark is here, but I have been with MCC for 23 years, and really the Calumet is really, really special this year, and that's due to your work, both of you and your team. I mean, you have a team, let's say behind the scene now, that work with you also to produce an amazing paper almost I notice every 3 weeks.
Yep, 3 weeks, yep.
Every 3 weeks. And that's, unheard of because I don't remember we ever had every 3 weeks an issue like that. Okay, so just tell us, so also our audience will know, what would be the process? For example, if you are right now sitting and thinking of working on next Calumet edition, so how do you start? How do you decide on topics? What you have to do so that your newspaper will end up an actual paper like this. So if you can take us through the process and explain to our audience. I don't know. I mean, I read the newspaper. For me, it's the final product, but I really don't know the steps that you have to go through in order to produce a paper that looks like this.
So we talk about things that are happening around campus, like news events, additions. So the Loper story, there was installments, there was construction, there was the final product, and so that's something that we can cover as like a package where there's different dates, different like a series of them. There are experiences that happen at MCC that we like to focus on or bring to light, like student experiences throughout MCC. There are things that are happening around the community, like the issue that we're working on currently covers the mayor elections in Muscatine, because that influences things that can happen at MCC. So we just kind of keep our eyes and ears open to things that are happening around that influence students and faculty and staff at MCC, and see, okay, well, where can we take this? How can we bring these facts to our MCC readers? And then if we run out of ideas, there's always something out there.
You can write about, right?
Yeah, so you just have to find it.
How do you assign? For example, if I'm part of the Calumet on the staff, do I get that assignment, or do you say, okay, well, we have all these topics that we would like to cover this issue. What would you like to write about, or is it an assignment to every writer?
A lot of it is assignments based on people's abilities. So for the mayor elections, there were a lot of the students on the Calumet aren't from Muscatine, and so it would have been a great opportunity for them to cover it, but we decided to keep it with a student from Muscatine. There are people who have special interests, like one of the Calumet reporters is involved with sports, so he is doing a coverage on intercollegiate intramurals groups. Or there's a girl who likes to talk to strangers, so if she wants to cover a story on Friendsgiving, we're gonna go assign her to go talk to 6 different people in Strahan, and then she'll just come back with a story. So a lot of it is things, if they come up with an idea, all right, let's see, we have our ethics statement, we have our process of, it's for the MCC readers, it's for this community, what can you do with it? And so a lot of the time they run with their ideas. Otherwise we say, no, I want you to do this instead, or take this angle of this story. Good,
well, amazing. Now, Mark, what kind of role do you play throughout this process?
Well, I'm an advisor. An advisor is not an editor. This is a student paper for a student community. So as an advisor, I try to bring my education experience, so as their ideas arise, I can help them flesh them out with sourcing suggestions, then some writing suggestions, focusing on transitions and things like that, and then design, some design ideas, because this is all new. And what Sharon does wonderfully, she's definitely developing as a journalist and as a strong writer to begin with. But you heard her say it when she talked about assigning stories based on the varying abilities of the staff. Some people show up having written tons. Some people show up sticking their toe in the water, just wanting to see what this is all about. And Sharon's done a very good job of steering them and encouraging them to put their own ideas out, and then finding other opportunities for them to get involved in. But I will say the first thing that I do in every journalism class or newspaper advisors, we have an ethics exercise. We come up with an ethics statement. Unlike many academic disciplines and academic work where the work is done internally, these students, the Calumet students' work is shared for everybody. We print 500 copies, put it out throughout the campus community. So every word is scrutinized by a whole lot of people, not just one teacher. And so we start with an ethics exercise so that they are accountable, not to themselves, not to me, but to their audience. And so we have some very good structured discussions about what the audience is and who we want to bring in. And that helps, and we publish that statement, that ethics statement, right from the beginning, so both the staff and our readerships know where we're coming from.
Well, that's amazing. As I said again, that's the good thing about bringing you to explain that process, because I myself, and I'm sure a lot of our audience, we will not even know about that. And because, as I said again, we just go into that episode or that newspaper, for example, is as a final product, and we read it without looking into. So after you put everything together, the printing. I mean, give us some idea about the printing. I mean, what will happen after that?
Well, we work with InDesign and Photoshop to design those pages, and then we put them out as PDFs, and the college has a contract with Trico Printing in Davenport, which prints them. So we email the PDFs. We work with folks there. They proof it up for us and print it, and we pick them up and pass them out the next day.
What an amazing process, you know.
Well, what's so funny is so many of the students these days don't have much familiarity with a print product. They've been engaged digitally, and so this is a new experience for many of them.
And that's a great point, Mark. I was planning to ask about that because, you know, it seems to me the new generation, and it's not bad, but it's different. They are used to technology, you know, their smartphone, the computer. They try to look into everything on the computer. So to get them back into that traditional newspaper, the paper newspaper, to really feel it, to touch it, and to read the article and the news, that's a great thing to achieve to begin with. I mean, let alone with all this kind of work that comes with it, again, to produce this paper. I know we do have some issues of the Calumet, and our producer, Chad Bishop, behind the scene, I'm sure at some point in time he gonna roll some, and I see
There we go.
one on the screen. So what do we see here? And let's talk a little bit about this, for example, particular major article that we see front page.
So we, like I said earlier, we covered the kind of the transition that Loper, or the transformation rather, that Loper Hall took. And so we went in with stories and interviews and tours of the library and its renovation, and then we had pictures of everything kind of gutted out, the new furniture, and then the color scheme that was presented. So we had a very colorful picture that we put on the front page so that we could let people know kind of what was happening with the library and what we could see when it was open. And then right next to it was our issue came out after the Las Vegas shooting, and one of my Calumet team members thought it was important that, you know, we really make a statement about this. And so it's not very big, but we just wanted to say, you know, we care about people who were affected in this tragedy. We're far away, but, you know, we're a nation, we're united. And so there's things in our nation, there's things that are at MCC, and we want to bring people together through our newspaper.
Tell us more as we talk. I know we have like some articles now, but before I want to go back to the library. You know, we want our audience to also know that the library is different now. You know, I have been at MCC for 23 years, and when I walked to the new library the first time, I cannot even describe my feeling because it was a big wow. I mean, to know that, you know, you can sit, you can be in a small room with no distraction, you can have a cup of coffee or a cup of tea while you're studying or reading or so on. So those are really great things, great informations that we can share with our students and our audience know about the library now through reading this particular article in your Calumet. So many thanks for that. So I seen like another article also on the screen here. So tell us something about this.
So that's a picture of Rebecca Bishop and her dog Ryder. So she started this semester as the evening administrator or evening coordinator. She's kind of the security and the administration on campus at night for the night classes. And so she helps walk students to their cars at night. She makes sure that the teachers have the resources that they need. She helps kind of facilitate the Zoom classes, make sure all the technology is working, and then she walks the library work study students to their cars. And so we just wanted to kind of let everybody know who she was, because a lot of students won't see her because she's at night. So, and it was, her dog is just a cutie, so I just wanted to.
I love that dog.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's a great example of Sharon and the staff really seeing what a newspaper role is. Newspaper has various roles. One of them is to be report factually things that happen. One of them is to challenge and explore and investigate. Another is to celebrate. And we celebrated the library opening, and there was some great factual reporting in there. But that headline, "Loper at Last," reflected the long wait that the students had to get that. And then the survey on what students' coffee they were going to order. That's fun stuff.
It is. And as I said again, it's amazing information that you are sharing with MCC as a community and with Muscatine, because I assume some people in the community will receive the Calumet or copies of the Calumet, right?
Sure. We distribute it all the way across campus, and then a few folks in the community are able to pick it up as well.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect, yeah. Okay.
So, that page is, one of our reporters went to the new culinary arts off-campus site, and she talked to the chef there, and then she talked to some of the students there. It was a new program that MCC was offering, and so she went off campus and went to that and got their story and kind of told everybody what was going on with this new program. And then on the other side, we started this column that it's called What It's Really Like. And so Tanya Velker was the first one to submit this, What It's Really Like. And the idea behind that was really just to kind of explore student or staff or faculty experiences and let people know what it's really like to have ADD or ADHD, what it's really like to have depression, what it's really like to commute from a half an hour away from school, what it's really like to be a twin, what it's really like to have a lot of different experiences that people may not understand fully. And so we wanted to kind of highlight that with student, real people at MCC. We wanted to just highlight their experientions. Great idea.
And and that's what I like about Sharon's leadership. It stems back to that ethics statement where we said, the students said, we're not here to tell our stories, we're here to tell the community stories. And so by creating that, what it's really like, it's a physical space in the paper for people to share their common experiences, and so others can see themselves in the paper, can see that night staffer who many don't know, or many might have seen her, but now they can connect with her.
Great. Yeah.
Oh yeah, those are more pictures. Yeah, so those are more pictures of Loper and just.
Oh, there's the survey. Yeah.
There's the survey that hot chocolate won by a landslide. So it was just kind of fun to take pictures, show everybody what it was going to look like, and then once it was open, it wasn't as much of a shock. People knew kind of what to expect. Yep.
Yes. Yeah.
And I got to say, I'm just thrilled to have that Calumet office still in Loper. They made a lot of decisions and had to repurpose that space for a new generation. And the fact that they kept, the college kept the Calumet in there, student run since 1951. It's a wonderful tradition. And so even before the library opened, we were in there putting out our first edition. I think we were one of the first people in there to work. And just like they're doing right now as we talk, there's a staff full of people putting out our next edition.
Yeah.
But it was thrilling to walk out of there late at night and to put our first edition out of that new office.
Excellent.
So yeah, we do a lot of celebrating of what the clubs do on campus, and so one of the things that we were really striving for this semester was to highlight or either preview or kind of explain what clubs do. And so ACOP had a fundraiser at Pizza Ranch, and they raised some money for hurricane relief, and so all the money that they raised they gave out to people, and so we went out there and kind of supported them in that.
And for people who couldn't attend, took them off campus and brought them to that event. I saw the puzzle page went up there.
Yeah.
perfect.
That's the fun one.
Well,
Yeah,
that's
that's
a,
the-
that's
yeah.
a perfect example. It just wouldn't occur to me. I'm a hard news guy, and when the staff said we ought to do something to make them pick up that paper and take it
Exactly,
with
that's
them,
the fun.
what
Yeah.
a great idea, and right in line with our ethics policies and how we want to relate. So it is a lot of fun.
It is. It is like to have something like that, especially for those people who like to work on puzzles and so on. That's a great thing to have or to look for every 3 weeks.
Very
Yeah.
traditional newspaper thing,
It
going
is.
back for centuries.
I agree with you. I agree with you. I remember myself growing up working on those puzzles again every almost day when we used to buy the newspaper every day. Yeah. So it's great. Yeah. More stories.
Yeah, so that was the first time that, at least since I've been on the Calumet, that we had ever covered ag. It's in its own building. It's a different program, and so a lot of students didn't really understand what was going on. So we had a new reporter go out, and he talked to some of the teachers and some of the ag students, and we kind of previewed their harvest season. And then in our next issue, he's actually talked to students who went out into the work field and have stories of what they've been doing for the last 5 weeks. And so we have their kind of preparation for the harvest and then their stories of their harvest season. So
And to say, I mean, that's really a great example of a great program that we have at MCC. I mean, the ag program is one of the best in the state of Iowa, and to highlight that program is a great idea. I mean, to have that information about this program.
Oh, the program itself is a regional draw. And earlier I was talking about how the students' work is not just kept in-house, it's shared with everybody. And I've come to find out at MCC there's a lot of programs like that. I mean, ACUP gets out in the community, Jim Elias with his business plans out in the community, the Quidditch team reaching out. So there's lots of stuff going on here of MCC students beyond their campus experience. And it's just so much to share in one more.
That is true. I agree. You're always limited, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
So that story is about a student named Will Solomon, and he had some concussions, and so he had a hard time focusing in school because of all the things that were happening. And so he kind of told his story about what it's, how he had to deal with what happened when he got kicked illegally in the head in his martial arts class. And so we just covered that student struggle of things that people may not realize or understand fully. So it was a cool story to highlight.
And of course, we know concussion is a international story. And when the students came forward with this story, we talked about what's the best context to share it with our readers. And this the students' personal experience, I learned a lot. I had not seen a story anywhere where somebody outside of football had talked about lingering impact of a concussion. And here was a student who was extremely articulate about it. And again, I think a lot of students could see themselves in that account.
Yeah. That's excellent. Yeah.
So that was our kind of Halloween fall edition. And so the Student Senate always has a blood drive, and the Calumet is at the blood drive every semester, but for various reasons, we never put it in the paper. And so we wanted to highlight, students give blood, the faculty give blood, the staff give blood. And so there was one of our reporters actually gave blood for the first time. There's pictures on the inside, and she told about how she's afraid of needles and how she overcame that fear to want to be able to donate blood to help people. And so Nancy Lugart is the Assistant Dean of Library Services, and so that was just a cool picture that, the administration of MCC gets involved with what's going on, and they care about what we do as students and then as what's going on in the community and far-reaching past the community. So it's just all-inclusive and all unified.
And Lisa Weigel pictures with her big smile too.
Yes, yeah.
We see
She's
that.
just so great. Yeah.
And then, of course, the same story on the back page where you have her in her hunter costume from the last Halloween,
yeah.
tied into Halloween. But I tell you, the thing that really got me was
Here we see
Oh yeah,
that.
there's Lisa.
There's
in her
Lisa in her
Halloween.
Halloween
With
Yep.
Halloween, yeah.
at the bottom of that page, the staff did their own Halloween picture. right here, and we can see Sharon there with her Captain America shield, and Blake Thorson, one of our design editors, who put a shadow of a ghost of himself in the past. And I just got a biggest kick out of that, showing personality, again, reaching out and being accessible to readers.
Yeah, it is great. I mean, it is great. I mean, look at this. I mean, I love that picture. Just picture. I mean, the article. I mean, everything. It's just like it's perfect. Really. Yeah.
It was a lot of fun. So there's our What It's Really Like again, and we're trying to have that every issue so that people can, know that they can contribute to that.
Yeah.
And then Elizabeth Medina left MCC, and she's at Drake, and she's going to be taking classes. And so we kind of went through and explained where she went, why she left, what she's doing now, and kind of her transition from MCC, because it's not just MCC students who go to MCC and leave. The faculty change and the staff change, and so we just wanted to see where she went. So that was a really interesting story. So one of our English professors here at MCC, Lisa Powell, wrote this story about Daniel Liu. He's in the front center of that picture, and Daniel's not from here. So it was really interesting, the connection that he made with Lisa. He invited her to a soccer game. He's one of the coaches of the local teams. And so she went to a game, and he's very heavily involved in MCC. I know he's in Young Democrats, and he works with us on the paper. He's not registered for the class, but he wants to help and spread facts and fun. And he works with the ag department, and he's just kind of like a really round
An excellent
person.
student.
Yeah.
Yeah, he is.
He's just
really. Yeah.
So it was cool to highlight that. It was cool for Lisa to write about it and share that experience about Daniel. It was cool for Daniel to see himself in the paper and just to get a variety of different experiences in the newspaper.
And what Lisa did was take Muscatine readers to a soccer match involving these immigrant students who have come over from Africa, embraced this game, are doing a wonderful job, and Lisa wrote a wonderfully rich account, very personal, that not only shared what was going on, but her reactions and emotion to it, and it was just so good to see in the paper. The paper is a repository for students like Daniel, who's not enrolled, but still contributes, for faculty like Lisa, who is a terrific writer, and this gives a showcase for that. And this staff of Calumet editors has been very, very open to content from beyond the staff itself.
Excellent. Yeah.
So that was Mick. Michaela is one of our, she's kind of like my right-hand man. So she is afraid of needles, and she got over that fear to give blood for the first time. And so that is kind of like her, what it's really like getting over that fear, and what it was really like for her to give blood for the first time. So it was very funny, but it was a very personal experience for her. Mm-hmm. Those are more club pictures because, like I said, I really wanted to focus on taking what people are doing on campus and kind of sharing the rest of that. So those are there's the Young Democrat picture on the bottom left with a couple of the young women who are involved in Young Democrats with actual,
State legislators.
Yeah, state representatives. And then the other pictures are Young Democratic Socialists of America, and they had a spray painting activity where they spray painted things that they liked about the country, things that they didn't like, and just kind of, realizing that there's good and bad and different, and just being able to accept what's around them. So we just like to highlight different clubs on campus. So that one was, so we lost Dr. Boyer, and it was hard because, so there are some students who really knew Dr. Boyer and had his classes, and then there were students who'd never heard of him. And so we really wanted to highlight, he was just this giant of a man, this teacher, he was, interim dean, he went to Scott, so he was a chiropractor, he was a father and a husband, and like all of this stuff. And so we wanted to bring that to students, and so we asked alumni students, we asked current students, we asked faculty and family members, and got a lot of people's responses and their memories of him teaching and telling jokes and being there and being supportive, and and making sure that the students knew that they were important and that their success was, what he wanted to help students succeed. And it was it was hard in a lot of ways, but it was a really rewarding experience to see the community come together like that.
And I will tell you, this is one of the reports that you put in the Calumet that I read. I don't know how many times, many times, because every time I read, there's 2 pages about him, about what people said about him, and the way you wrote also about him. That got me just like, okay, well, I'm done. Let me start again.
Yeah.
So I kept just reading. Amazing piece that you guys did in memory of Dr. Boyer. So that was really an amazing piece.
Well, and these are tough things to write.
Yes.
And as fate would have, a teaching moment, Sharon and Mick are also in the MCC news writing class, and that was a week we were talking about obituaries. Time-honored American, well, actually international journalism attribute. And so we were talking about obituaries, we were studying them, and then Dr. Boyer passed away, and there was an opportunity. And so we talked about it. We asked, is this something you want to do? And this was tough to go out and talk to lots of different people, and it was still fresh in mind. But the stories and the anecdotes they had, like you talked about, just really strike true. But that wasn't the toughest part. The toughest part is reaching out to the family. And I know that was something that neither Sharon or Mick had done before, but you went ahead and did that.
Yeah, we contacted Mrs. Boyer, and that was really scary for me because it was very shortly after he had passed away, and I didn't want to be insensitive. I didn't want to be, pushy. I wanted people to understand who Dr. Boyer was, so I wanted her to tell me, but I wanted her to know that I wasn't just here to get a quote.
Yeah.
I wanted her to be able to tell her story, and I mean, she sent us this beautiful piece about Dr. Boyer, how he played saxophone in his high school. He was the quarterback on the football team. He went to 3 different schools before he, got his chiropractic license, and just this amazing person who has this rich background that, goes beyond being a great professor or being a great friend or being a mentor to the other people he works with. And just to have those student and faculty experiences, and then her response was just, I almost cry reading it, and I never had him as a teacher. And so it was one of the most fascinating and life-changing experiences that I've participated in at MCC, probably all 5 semesters that I've been here.
And because you applied it that way and did that hard thing, you allowed Monica Boyer to encouraged her and let her know that her thoughts would be welcome among your readership. And the piece, we really have to thank Monica for stepping up and writing this very personal piece. That the experience that Sharon just talked about, many students had that experience because of the outreach and because of the way Monica decided to respond. And then we also had an opportunity to have some design. You can see on the right-hand side there, students and staff remember taking the quotes from the main story and breaking them out so that people who are more casual readers would still get something out of this. And it was a good design lesson, and I thought the staff did a wonderful job bringing that together.
All I can say is wow, really. I mean, just bringing the Calumet story and sharing that with us, it's just like really an amazing thing. I always have that high respect of what you guys do, but after hearing your story, all the steps that you go through to produce a paper that looks very professional like this. It's amazing learning experience for me, and I'm sure for all our audience. And that's really an amazing thing that you shared with us.
Well, hold up that one paper just for a second. That was our Halloween edition, and Blake Thorson. Just a little detail, take that Calumet logo, put it in the pumpkin, and all of a sudden we've got something celebrating the holiday.
It takes creative thinking, I think, to do something like that, and I can see that in the Calumet now under the leadership of Sharon and And Mark, you have been a great asset for our students and the college and the Calumet. You are bringing your experience for all these years working in the field.
Well, we certainly
and
feel the
applying
love on
that.
MCC campus. Lots of support.
And that's great. That is great. What I would like to do is I would like to give each one of you a minute to share whatever you would like to share that perhaps maybe we miss certain things that you feel it's important to include in this TV episode. So feel free to share whatever you would like to share, and then we'll take it from there and end the show for today.
So one of the things that I want to make sure that everybody knows is that you don't have to be a journalism major to be on the Calumet. My first semester, I was the only one with a journalism, plan, and everybody else was tech or IT majors. We have journalism majors now, but we have people who are interested in photography and sports and tech and nursing and ag, and you can do anything on the Calumet. You can design, you can write, you can take pictures, you can edit, you can talk to people, you can report, you can film, you can put our paper online, you can be in charge of social media. There's a lot of things that are involved in the idea of media and communications that I feel like people just kind of skip over because it's just a newspaper or it's just writing, but it's not. Like, people can get involved. We love to hear, student stories and staff, their family pictures when they were 6 and they have pictures of Christmas, things that bring the community together, things that enlighten us about what's happening in the world. That's what I like about journalism, is because it's real, it's fun, it's facts, and if you do it right, it brings people together and informs people more than they would have known on their own.
Good. Mark?
Yes. Well, I'm thrilled to be teaching journalism at MCC and glad that the district sees that it's important. We hear a lot about journalism. We hear a lot about fake news. We hear a lot about bias. And you started this conversation by asking the steps we go through. And like in every discipline, there are some very specific process, procedures, and ethics that underlie and create the integrity of the product. And with all the discussion on especially the digital media and a lot of the stuff going on in social media that just deals with the end result and the perceptions of bias, this is an experience where students understand and experience the piece by piece, the hard work, the tough phone calls to produce the stories, the long days putting it together in a print format. The thrill of seeing people reading your work and then reacting to your work, and then engaging the community and seeing the community react and then the paper react as well. Sharon's done a lovely job of articulating her goals and outcomes, which really make it a distinctive paper this semester. In following semesters, when Sharon moves on, the paper will have a different feel, reflecting the students who were there at the time. And if you go back to those archives in Loper that Nancy Lucard has, wonderfully bound there, you can see the different iterations this paper has had over the years. And there's professionals at the Quad City Times and elsewhere who got their start at the Muscatine Community College Calumet.
Well, thank you, Sharon and Mark. It's an honor to have you with us today on this show. I myself learned a lot from both of you today because, we take it for granted. It's the newspaper here. I like to read. I'm a kind of person that like to carry a book or carry the actual newspaper and read. And it's sometimes the idea of creating that newspaper might escape each one of us because we have the product in front of us and our job is basically reading the news. But learning about the process and learning about the effort that you are putting behind a paper like that and the team that you work with is an really amazing story. And I'm glad that we decided to have you with us today to tell your story. So many thanks. And please go back to your team and convey this message to all of them too. I mean, you are doing a wonderful job.
Now we're going to go back right now to convey that message because they're busy working on the next edition that comes out later this week.
We look forward to see the next edition. But as I always say, if you have any question and or comments, please call me at 563-288-6064, or you can email me at jdabeet@eicc.edu. Till next time, Muscatine. Bye-bye.